Whoever called themselves self-made is a liar. There is no such thing, okay? Even that whole saying of, if you want to go fast, go alone. No, it's a lie, okay? I don't even think it's possible to go fast when you're alone. You need people. If you want to go far, take people with you. If you're building anything worth anything, if you're building anything bigger than you need other people. Nothing exists in isolation, not even anything in nature.
People think that if they run it by themselves and if they succeed themselves, they get that million by themselves, right? They become the superstar, you know? They want to be the Beyonce of the story. They want to be the person that people praise and that people say, you're such a hard worker. But the honest truth is that sometimes it boils down to pride and egotisticalness because you don't want to give the accolades to the right people who will take you far and who will allow you to grow impact. That's just the sad reality. You're living in scarcity. You're living in your mind where you want to be the main character. And one thing we've told time and over again is that if you want to make money, you need to stop being the main character, and we're reminding you of this. And stop dwelling into this thing that it only has to be you to do it the right way. No, there are other people who are brilliant and who can take you far. You just need to stop thinking about yourself for a second.
Sana, because some of y'all are stuck because you ain't got the answers, Sway.
You ain't got them.
You're cracking your head thinking you'll figure it out, you'll save yourself. No. What you need is to find someone who has the answers, okay? What you need is to bring someone else in, someone that knows better. I feel like the smartest thing to do is to admit that you do not know.
Yes.
Humble yourself. Let someone who knows better, let someone who can actually bring in better value, do something better than you do, come in, take over, and y'all do it together.
Exactly. I remember at the beginning of this year, I worked on a project, right? Where I worked with really critical people with attention to detail and so forth, right? Like I worked with them for a very long time. They were a big part of my year. Every single idea I brought forth, they criticized, and they criticized it hard and harshly. When I say hard and harshly, like sometimes I would log off and literally cry, y'all, you know? And I think it was because I was looking at it from the standpoint that, you know, people are trying to like bring down my ideas or look down on it, right? But then in the process of this, I came to realize something important, right? People see things differently, right? And that is so valuable because by the end of that project, because I was running an assessment center end to end by myself, I was heading it. By the end of it, we developed something that was so beautiful. I remember one of the most critical stakeholders I know, when he saw the output of what we did, he was like, this is so innovative. Every single person who was in that assessment center said the same thing over and over again. And instead of me sitting and dwelling to say that I can do it myself, I can definitely run with it. And, you know, instead of me dwelling on the idea that, but my idea is great.
It's perfect.
It's
perfect.
Complete. Exactly. Perfect and complete. You fail to actually grow your skills. You fail to actually even grow your perception of your business, your perception of success, your perception of abundance, because you don't have a mindset of learning. And if you don't have the mindset of learning, what it does to your business is that your business doesn't grow. It can't grow. It can't move forward because it's only looking at it from one perspective. And I think last week we spoke about the systems, right?
Yeah.
We spoke about, you know, figuring out what's in your business, figuring out what's the different elements of it, how to brain dump, how to create a system essentially, right? And if you look at any system, especially if your business is growing, it needs people. Even the Bible says, Paul planted, Apollos watered, and God what?
God made it grow.
Exactly. And that's what we're speaking about today.
Literally, I think nothing in nature exists on its own. Nothing in life exists. Like everything exists in an ecosystem, right? Which links us to what you said about last week. The reason a system literally needs people. We already established that you cannot build a performance business without systems, and you cannot build systems without people. And another thing is that like partnership
is so powerful.
Yeah.
Not only because it allows you to open up to different perspective, like you mentioned, but also because you are very limited in your capacity.
Yes.
There's only so much you can bring. There's only so much you can give. But now when you bring in somebody else, they bring in what they know, they bring in what they have, and together it's an explosion. Hi.
And that's true.
Definitely.
So, for example, we have a little ecosystem of ours, right? And our ecosystem looks in a way where there's multiple businesses that are happening concurrently, and we use the same resources, right? And in the ecosystem, people hold different parts, right? We play different parts, right? And it's important that in your ecosystem, you know your part and you get comfortable with it and not try to step on other people's toes in their system. It's like a body. The hand knows what it needs to do. The feet know what it needs to do. But you never hear the feet saying, I'm always the one doing all the work and stepping on
carrying all of
Yeah,
you.
I'm carrying all of you. Exactly, you know?
Yeah.
But it all understands. And if, for example, the foot is in pain, the hands will know it because the hands will do more work than it's supposed to do.
And
you
the
know?
hands go down and they try to massage the feet.
Exactly. And that's how it needs to be in your business, right? So, for example, in our ecosystem, Tamia is the face, period, point blank. Right? So she's the face, she's the brand, she's the face that people relate to. I can now come into that ecosystem and be like, Tamia, can I be the face? Why am I not the face? And all of that stuff. Her role is very much established in making that ecosystem work.
And in our ecosystem, she is the CEO.
Exactly.
She knows how to run the business. She knows how to run the system. She knows what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and how exactly it can get done. So literally, like understanding your strength and understanding where it fit in, instead of trying to be in conflict and jump into each other's roles. Rather, we sort of like elevate one another, allow the other person to do what they do well, acknowledge it, support them. You know, sometimes you're gonna be the one who's sidekicking in certain situations, and in other situations, like when it's your area of expertise, you literally do what you have to do, and you carry the team, and everyone else supports you. That's just how it works.
So the thing about partnerships, right? Yes, before we even start describing what to do before a partnership and all of that stuff, right? We need to understand that partnerships are not equal, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that really just needs to be articulated. Also, your employees in your business are partners. Your
Exactly.
suppliers, they are partners.
Even your customers are
Even
partners.
your customers are partners. And in order for you to move forward, you need to build healthy relationships with your different partners. You need to understand what type of partnership are we in, what value each partner brings, and what value you bring. Because sometimes you get so fixated on what are you going to do for me, and you don't actually learn what value you are bringing for the other person.
Can we speak about heart posture?
Yes.
I feel like before we even go far, like the reason why so many people are against partnership to begin with, or why it's not even in your radar, right, is because of a scarcity mindset, right? And also almost like this thing of feeling like there isn't enough, right? You feel like there aren't enough resources to go around. You feel like, and you also feel like because you feel like that also, you assume other people are like that also.
Yes.
Because a lot of the times in business, when you need something, someone else already has it,
Yes.
right? Daniel Priestley always speaks about how there is no reason for you to try figure something out when someone else already has
Yes.
it. Like if someone else has an audience and you have a business idea, you partnered with them. Same like what Emma did with Kim
yes,
Kardashian.
yes.
Emma is the CEO, right?
Of Skims.
Of Skims.
And American,
And
right?
Good American.
Good American.
But she partnered on both businesses with Kim Kardashian and Khloe, right? Because they had something that she needed, an audience. Instead of Emma now trying to become an influencer, spend years building her brand and whatever, she went to someone who already had what she needed.
Yes, for her different products. So, for example, with Chloe always was wearing jeans, and she saw that it would be easy to sell to her particular audience because the audience knows she wears jeans. With Skims is always in the nudity area and always wants to look really good and snatched. So it's easier to leverage from their strength to build what you need. But continue.
Exactly. And there's some other people who have the money.
Yes.
And they don't know what to do with the money.
Yes.
And when you need money,
Yes.
partner with them. There's some people who even have amazing ideas. You can tell that they're brilliant. They know business, they know industry. And all you have is just an amazing idea. partner, someone else already has something in them. So you need to understand that, first of all, the rewards are not scarce, in the sense that when it is time to gain, when it is time to win, there will be more than enough for both of you, not all of you. Let me not even say both, because partnerships are broad. There's enough for everybody to win, everybody to share. And also know that the resources that you need are enough. They already exist. You don't need to go start making them pop out of nowhere.
Exactly.
They already exist. Abundance is everywhere. All you have to do is partner with the people who have it. And having that posture, that heart posture of abundance is the only way you can actually enter into thriving, successful partnerships. Because really, like, literally, like, I think there is no other thing barrier to abundance and partnership. It's only scarcity.
Exactly.
So you just need to change your heart posture, understand that there's more than enough. Like, when you do win, it's even more amazing when you win with a
others.
team. Yeah.
And I think also from what you're saying, what's important, your employees being your partners, you need to make them
so
feel like your
crucial.
partners, Don't make a person feel like they're just helping you in your dream and you can, drop them at any point, Don't have that mindset.
That's why they're not committed.
That's why they're not committed.
Because you haven't partnered with them.
Exactly. You've not shared your vision. You don't remind them of the value that they bring. The only time you call them out is when they're doing something wrong. Give people their accolades. Let people know the value that they're bringing into the team. And that's what partnership really is. Because another thing about establishing a relationship, right? There has to be vulnerability.
Yeah.
Trust comes with vulnerability. If I decide, Tamia, I'm going to trust you to build a business, right? You need to be vulnerable to say, okay, cool, this is what I have. This is the skill that I'm having, and I'm letting the posture of my heart carry this venture as well. That's what vulnerability is. And if we don't get to that point in terms of partnerships, it's easy for me to drop you. It's easy for me to be here today and go tomorrow. And I think that's why looking at it from a posture of the heart is like so powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Because with the even the topic of employees, right? You even see it in how committed people are. I think every single person, and some of them, maybe some people are just not aware of it, but everyone has a desire to be fruitful and useful.
Yes.
Like, everyone has a desire to do something out of themselves, to build something out of themselves. They want purpose, right? So if you have not partnered with your employees, if you guys have not, like, sort of like, if they don't believe that they have as much to gain as you do. And it's another, like, very crucial thing, you can't fake this, eh?
Yeah.
Like, you generally can't fake it. Like, people see right through it. Like, you just won't be able to do it. I think the only way, pray.
Yes, you need to pray.
You need to pray. You need to really, really pray, and really, really sort of like wash your mind and your heart of the spirit of scarcity and greed, and like actually genuinely believe that when you're partnering with somebody, when you're partnering with your employees, that it is for all of you, that you all win, that you all want it. And when you come together, you'll have people who are loyal. Like, I hear a lot of people say, it's so hard to find good, loyal employees. People don't want to work anymore. A lot of the times it's because they don't feel like they're not involved. They feel like they're helping you in your dream.
And it's also from leaders who have this mentality to say, this is my idea, this is my business,
Yes.
And I genuinely think that it is posture thing, right? Because even when you go into the word, right? Sorry, I want to be that person.
Of course,
right?
we're going to be those people.
When you go into the word, right? When Jesus literally looked upon people and saw that they were being afflicted, right? Which is what you do as an entrepreneur. You look out and you see a need, right? He said that the harvest is many, right? But the harvesters are few, right? And what did he do? After that, Jesus then went to the disciples, right? And you will see that there was so much intentionality in terms of teaching them. So every time he would preach to the masses, he would go and explain, to his disciples in private, right? So what was he doing? He was sharing the secrets of the kingdom, which is what you are supposed to do as a leader. You're supposed to share the secrets of your business so that you build an empire. Because what you're doing is that you are building a kingdom. Because if you're working towards building a performance performance business, and if you don't know what a performance business, darling, you need to go to
Go watch the episode.
Go watch the
You
episode.
need to
It'll be
binge,
linked. Yeah, right. You learn that people don't feel like it's a kingdom. People don't feel like this is something I can grow with, and employees, right? And employees, I don't really like it. We're going to say partners, right? Partners want to feel like they are able to grow with the business.
Exactly.
And if you do not make your employees feel like they can grow with the business, especially with the startup, they will look for somewhere else that cultivates their growth.
You need to be generous.
Yes.
You need to be generous and give openly. That's why I think the only way, that's why we're sending you to Jesus in prayer, because like it's not something that you can sort of say and speak with your mouth, right?
Yeah.
Like this is something that actually, like, genuinely in your heart of heart, you need to be convinced and convicted of, and like really genuinely want to enter into a partnership with the spirit of giving, knowing that you want to contribute, you want the other person to benefit and also get out from the partnership.
What I would like us to speak on, right, is how do you get into a partnership? Because I think we've given a good balance, foundation in terms of the importance of partnership going far and fast, right? But how do we then have the conversation of getting the actual partners?
I think in order for someone to be fit to enter into a partnership, first of all, you need to have value to give, right? I've seen this in a lot of people where they come and be like, oh, so like I want to work with you, right?
Yeah.
But the working with you that they've structured benefits only them.
Yeah.
And like you haven't sort of like, you don't have in your mind like the understanding of what a true partnership is, because before you enter into a partnership, you have to know what you have to give, right? And also understand what the other person will be giving, right? And you need to create an agreement that allows
That benefits
the
both.
both of you,
Yeah.
and is fair,
Yeah.
right? And in that sense, like, then when you approach somebody, right, whoever it is that you do approach, also don't make it hard for them.
Yes.
Like don't make it hard. Don't make it, and don't
think in
structure-
greed.
Exactly. Don't think in greed and structure a partnership in such a way where the other person has to carry all the load, and you just come in with your smalanyana hood and like like you actually have to sort of like do all the groundwork.
Yeah.
Like literally let somebody feel like, oh, all I have to do is just say yes, and you've already handled, you've done all the heavy lifting. You've already removed all the barriers to entry. Yeah.
And I think one of the other things is what we spoke about yesterday, actually. It's the generalist mindset, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Especially when it's a small business, right? I'll
Okay.
just give context before I
Okay.
hand it over, right?
Yeah.
When you have a small business, right, you find that many a times you're doing everything. You're running every single thing. And when you want to get that new person, that new employee, that new partner, you don't need a specialist. You need a generalist, right? And I think that it's important that you get people with the mindset where they're open to learn. They're open to get their hands dirty, and they don't really have the mindset of, this is a corporate, so you should know exactly what I need to do or what you're hiring me for. Because that's not the mindset that you need at the beginning.
Genuinely, I think what you're speaking to is very relevant for like someone who's been doing everything themselves, and you see that it's not time for you to bring in help,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people, you should have hired long ago, but you're busy saying you can't afford it.
Yes.
Not understanding that you actually making the hire is what will give you the capability to actually
grow.
afford anything, right? So again, scarcity mindset, stop it. But when it's time for you to make that first hire, understand that your first few hires, like you probably are holding all the job descriptions, right? Because if you've done the work, homework from last week, then you've segmented all the different departments that you have, and you've probably taken the time to do documentation. So you have all these different job descriptions that you're holding. You're probably holding about like 10
Yep.
to 20 job descriptions, right? You're doing everything. And when you're bringing someone in, right, you need someone who's going to help you with the load,
Yeah.
right? And you need someone with an ownership mindset, right?
Yes.
Someone who's going to feel like they have as much to lose as you do. And the only way to get them to that point, again, is to enter into a partnership agreement. And when I say a partnership agreement, I don't mean you give them half the stake of your company.
Not ownership
no.
per se.
Not ownership per se, but rather like sort of like sell the vision. Like you have to, they need to be as invested in the vision as you are. They need to feel like they know what is at stake. They know what what you're trying to build. They need to understand where you're going. And that way, when they come in to carry the load as a generalist, right, even they'll be willing to take the 10 other job descriptions. If you're holding 20, they'll take the other 10 and carry the load with you. And they'll understand that they can't just do one thing, or they can't just focus on like, have you ever hired someone who's like, but I did my job?
Yes, and like there's so many things on hold. It's like, girl.
Like listen, and it's like, you don't bother going the extra mile. When you find people who don't bother going the extra mile, they don't bother actually taking initiative. All they do is just be like, no, that's not part of my job description. Now that's not what you said you hired me for. No, but I'm doing my part. Like in that situation,
that's not what you need.
That's
at
not
this
what
stage.
you need.
Yeah.
Exactly. At this stage, you need someone who's going to come in, get their hands dirty with you, go all in. Whatever needs to be done, they're here. They're with you, and they're actually. The only way that someone will actually do that is if they are sold to the vision and there's a spirit of partnership between the two of you guys. And I think once you sort of like once you have one or two generalists, right, then you will move on at some point. When your team gets bigger, you start to need specialists, right?
Yeah.
Now it's people who are not going to hold 5 different job descriptions, but they're going to hold this one and really specialize in it and really focus on it and be much better, like 10 times better. That's when you get experts. You want someone who's better than you, right? You want someone who knows more, maybe someone who studied more, someone who you know can give you better results, and you're able to humble yourself and be like, okay, listen, I need you to take the lead here.
Yeah.
I need you to be the one guiding me here. And I don't think you can do that if you have a scarcity mindset and I'm the star of the show, this is all me. You will never ever be able to hire someone that knows more than you because you constantly want to be the one shining.
Which is true. There are certain people who hold off hiring because they're intimidated by the excellence of the other person.
Sure.
And that's just the honest truth, you know. But I do think that what you're saying is so important, because when we look at the way teams, you know, high-functioning teams are set up, it's people who acknowledge that, okay, Tamia is good at this, Liz is good at this person is good at this, and you actually give you give to the person what they need to fix, right? And then they have the ability to give to you as well what you need to do, right? And I think it's very important when you're building a team, when you're starting off with your generalists, right? You let them know that this is bigger than me. It needs to operate outside of me, right? And you are outside of me. And even as they are generalists, you begin to identify what is this person actually good at? Because one day they will become specialists, and you need to think in the mindset that they will become the managers of the different aspects in your business, you know, and you need to be comfortable with that idea. You need to be comfortable with the idea that it's not just my idea. Other people are going to actually bring ideas into the business and make it grow. Steve Jobs had the big picture idea,
But
right?
he had a partner.
Yes, but he literally had a partner. He had
And
his
people don't know this.
People don't know that it was
Yeah.
his friend who he left in varsity or something like that,
In
right?
fact, like
Or
Steve
at
Jobs
work.
wasn't even the mastermind. Like,
Really?
nah. Like I think he wasn't the tech guy who had
Oh,
the
yes,
technology.
yes, exactly.
Right? He had the vision, but he had no
Exactly.
idea how to do the IT and the what's
Exactly.
this. So he partnered with someone. The other guy was the one who was the expert in the computer things and
Yeah.
the IT things and all of that. Imagine if he tried to do it by himself.
It wouldn't have worked.
And also, it slows you down.
It does
'Cause
slow you
I hear
down.
people, and people would say this all the time. I remember when I told people that I wanted to start a fashion business, they were like, oh, so you're going to go to fashion school? Fashion school? So now I must wait another 4 years to go study fashion. Because, no, what I did, I went and I partnered with a tailor. Like, what do you mean? And that's exactly with a lot of people. Like, you say you want to do something, then be like, oh, yeah, so I'm just going to go study for 5 years.
Because you want to be the specialist.
Like, like, what's the point? For me at this point, I'm like, what's the point? Anything that I want to do, if it requires something that I don't know, I know where I'm going to go and try to learn it myself. Please, I'm partnering with someone who already knows, someone who's an expert. And that is why I told you in the beginning, that quote, Yoguti, if you want to go fast, go alone. It's a lie. If you want to go fast, go partner with someone with a Lamborghini or something.
Exactly.
Then you go fast.
And the truth is that even in your business right now, there's something that you're struggling with. If you are trying to grow your business, there's something you're struggling with. And if you're not struggling with anything, you're not trying to grow your business.
Exactly.
There is somebody out there who has the skill to solve your problem. You need to just essentially look at the systems that you build, right? Understand where the lack is and literally find out what does that ideal person look like to actually fit this specific role, and be intentional. Write it down, because what most people say, I need somebody to create content for me, so I probably need an editor. Then you just go and look for anybody with an editor on
And what
YouTube.
you do, and so you don't actually need an editor. You
Exactly.
need someone more than that. You need an entire content creator.
Exactly.
Someone who
Social
can handle
media
more than
manager
just,
and all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Which is true. And so it's like the defining of your partner is important, because your partner is not your friend.
No.
It's not somebody you like.
Nope. And as much as we're friends, Shamia, I'm not partnering you because you're my friend.
No, like genuinely not. It's genuinely a hard relationship. Some might even say it's a spiritual marriage, right?
It is.
Where you need to understand the give and take. You need to
Yeah.
understand that, okay, in this circumstance, this is how I engage with my partner. This
Yeah.
is what my partner does not stand for. This is
Yeah.
what my partner stands for. You need to be
Yeah.
able to have the difficult conversations. You need to be able to have the contract. The contract is a very big part before you
So,
go
so
into
important.
partnership with somebody, right? Because the thing is, if I'm selling you a business that the business is going to grow, right? You have intentions that, okay, it is going to grow, but you don't understand how much of that growth you're going to get. And this is where it becomes tricky. Because let me give you an example, guys. You see, Uchamyam, she has ADHD, right? So she does a lot of things, like a lot of things, and she makes a lot of decisions.
Big visions, you know.
Yes, big visions. And then she makes a lot of decisions. And after she
Very
makes a lot of
quickly.
decisions, she calls me, right? And when she calls me, she doesn't tell me she's made the decision. She'll tell me she's planning on making a decision like this, right? And then one thing I've realized about her, right, in the beginning is that she would enter into a lot of things without contracting. And then we had to sit on 5-hour calls to try and figure out how to rectify this particular contracting that she's gone into that is not on paper, because people have higher expectations than what was out there for, right? And it created so many can of worms. You can't manage the relationship. People feel like they've been hurt in the process, you know, because maybe they didn't interpret it the way you were saying it.
Yeah.
So putting it down on paper is so important.
Really, really crucial. And I think also it's very important to understand that there are different types of
partners,
partnerships,
yeah.
right? There are partners where you're both stakeholders,
Yes.
or you're all stakeholders, because it can be more than two people, right? There's partners who have stake,
Yes.
right? In the sense that, like, and stake comes with risk, right? All of y'all are putting in as much risk, like, you know, you guys all have as much to lose, and that's where you have shareholders and all of that different stuff. And then there's partners where it's sort of like
You embody the risk and they help you carry out the vision.
Exactly. So they come in, and this is where you have maybe, like, let's say, an employee kind of situation where, although you own the business, right, like, you carry all the risk, but they're working with you, partnering with you to carry out the vision. There are even certain partnerships where, like, there's stake, but, like, not equal stake.
Yes.
Right? Maybe you have a big stake, and then you offer somebody else a certain specific kind of stake. And there's also partnerships where it's supplier and customer kind of relationship, where you enter into a partnership with a supplier, right? And this is so important for you to understand, even to have long and sustainable. It shouldn't just be a buying and selling kind of relationship. You actually have to understand that, like, actually, you guys are working towards one thing, right? And if you actually sat down and built the relationship and sort of like sold your vision to the other person and made them understand where you're going, you would have so much better, like, relationships.
you'd have better deals. You'd find, that's where you find that like suppliers are even willing to give you better prices when you order in bulk, because if you have an agreement with your supplier and they sort of like a relationship, they know that you'll keep coming back to them and you'll be loyal to them and you'll keep coming back. Like, you guys are able to, you realize that there's so much more that you can actually offer one another and give to one another, and it makes both your life easier.
Just to give an example to why partnership is important, right? They are literally willing to prioritize you. That's a big piece, you know? Especially if you're in business, you find that there are a lot of times when you need something urgently. And if you've not built the right partnerships, it will not work.
It really won't.
They will be willing to take a call at 5 o'clock. Oh, Tamia, do you need this? Do you need this now? Okay, cool. I'll wait at my shop for 30 minutes. And that only comes when people understand that we are working together. And you know, for example, the Kula shops will say, that is my friend, you know, as an example. That's a level of partnership that you genuinely need to build.
Just an important thing to note about like partnering with someone is that there's a relationship, right? And relationships need to be managed, they need to be nurtured, which comes with the responsibility and work. And I think it's important to build a system for nurturing that.
Yes.
Like, you need to have a system for how the relationships you have with your employees, which is why HR, like corporates have HR, because HR is there to manage the relationship they have with their partners, their employees, because of how important that relationship is, right? So I think even as a small business, you kind of have to sort of allocate yourself an HR hat and give yourself
people
time.
partner hat.
Yeah, okay, yes, beautiful. A people partner hat, and allocate time and systems and effort into actually building and nurturing the relationships you have with the employees. Even same thing with your suppliers, right? Like, take the time to actually nurture and build these relationships, because again, they're partnerships.
And I think to nurture relationship, you need to give feedback. That's something small businesses actually don't do.
Yeah.
Like, you're really in the cracks of things, you don't have time to give people feedback.
Yeah.
How do you expect to build a relationship if you don't tell a person you're actually really doing this well and you need to continue and teach other people what you're doing? Oh, this is an area that you could potentially develop. Why don't you do it like 1, 2, 3? I think small businesses, the honest truth is they don't have time, and you don't have to sit down and develop an entire performance review. But because it's small, have a genuine, performance conversation with someone that this is what I'm acknowledging, this is all of that stuff, and this is what you could do better, and so forth, right? And even as a leader, you need to ask, what do you think could make this partnership better? Do you have all the resources that you need right now to complete your job successfully? Do you have all the knowledge to, actually complete what you need, what I've asked you to do? Because what entrepreneurs do most of the time, right? They say, I need 1, 2, 3, and they let a person just go scot-free. So a person needs to figure out where the resources are. The person sometimes, depending on how safe you feel to speak to the person you're reporting to, you feel like you can't ask, for additional, resources, or you can't ask, how do I do this because I feel incompetent. As a small business, don't do that. You need to literally ensure that communication is one way that appreciation is felt, and you do it openly if you can.
I genuinely agree. And I feel like everything we're leading on almost like is taking us back to last week's episode, right? Which is systems, right? Because partnerships, systems and documentation. Let's say it like that. Because partnerships, right, need to be on paper, need to be documented in order for them to actually be healthy, transparent, and just at ease. Please put them on paper. And number 2, in order to manage the relationship, right, you actually need a system for that. You need to know this is what needs to happen every quarter. This is the conversation that I need to have. This is the type of questions I need to ask. And in order for that to happen consistently at a high quality all the time, you actually need to create an entire system to ensure that your partnership is managed well and it continues to thrive and be beneficial for everyone involved, right? So please do go back to that. But of course, because we are a doing podcast and not a listening podcast,
what do we have for them?
So we'll give a little survey in terms of the different types of partnerships that are there. Remember, it's not exhaustive. It's just to open up your mind to the concept of partnership. And number 2, we will give you guiding questions that you can reflect on when you are looking for a partner, a partnership, right? And it's so important for these reflective questions because it also gives you an opportunity to think of the posture of your heart. Are you ready for this? And I think as you're going through this document, if you're somebody who's prayerful, and I hope that you are, genuinely pray that the posture of your heart also does not change over time, that you remain steadfast in this contract that you're going into somebody. Because I think it is a lot of work. Managing relationships is a lot of work. And I think just the constant reminder that you won't always be happy. That's just business. That's the way it is. But you need to learn to communicate in a way that is understandable and constructive.
And be a professional.
Be a professional. It's a
Because
biggest
understanding
piece.
that like it's not emotional, it's not like it needs to be separate from like personal and
Yeah.
actually like be able to put on your business person hat on and like literally be objective
Yes.
about the conversations and everything.
Yeah, and I think you are right, because what people do is that as a small business, many a times, the people who you bring into your business are people that you know, and so you need to, it's important that you don't mix the two, When I'm angry at you at work, I'm not angry at you outside.
Exactly.
Like outside, we're whole different people. If outside we're fighting, we don't bring it into the business, because that's how a lot of businesses actually die.
Even if you're my family member, I should be able to fire you and then call you later on
For
to say, I'm
Christmas.
sorry that you lost your job. I heard.
Yes.
Do you want to go out for drinks?
Yes, you wanna talk
heal?
about
Do you want
it?
to talk about
You
it
know?
as a family?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing about a tough conversation that I think is so important. A tough conversation, you need to remove yourself out of it and focus on the business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what removing yourself out of this is, okay, this hurts a little bit, but cool. If we actually think about it from the
Yeah.
business perspective, you are right. Maybe I have been showing up to work a bit late and it's a problematic, Maybe I'm not good with the finances and I'm using finances for things I'm not supposed to be doing. You need to be so intentional about that. And I think that's why holding each other accountable and having those conversations is so important. And last one that I'm going to say before I wrap up is the difference between constructive conversations and just conversation. Just conversation is, I feel like you're not doing your job, you need to do better, you're not urgent, you lack urgency, and that's what I need, right? But a constructive conversation is, on Monday and Tuesdays, I realize that you've been coming late to work.
Specific.
Be specific as possible, right? And what this does, you need to say, you need to give an example of what has been happening and how it's impacted the business. Remember, you're removing the person
A
outside
real
of the
example,
situation.
ungathi you are always.
Yes,
As soon
no.
as you start saying always,
How?
you've
You've
missed
lost
it.
the person, right?
Specific. Go to this day, on this day, on this day, at this time, you
Yes.
did this.
Yes, and when you're coming late, we can't open up the shop. And if we can't open up the shop, it's hard for us to say that we open every day at 8 a.m. because it's removing our consistency, our quality in terms of service, right? And I would appreciate if you could do a bit better, right? And have them respond. Because what people usually do is that they come, shots. And this happens, when
Emotionally.
everything builds up. You see somebody doing something wrong and you keep it in. They do something
Yeah.
again, you keep it in. You're like, no, I need to protect the
Yeah.
relationship. You're actually doing them a disservice because they could actually grow from the conversation if you're open and honest about it, right? And then ask them, have you noticed this, and all of that stuff, right? And hear what they have to say, and have a conversation about it, right?
And from past experience, this is so easy when you have a contract.
Exactly.
Because you just pull out the document. Obviously, last we agreed here on this online 202 that this is what would be happening,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But like, this is not what's happening because on this day specifically, what. So
Exactly.
you need it on paper.
Exactly. And after the conversation, set a goal in terms of what's happening next. Because what happens is most of the time, people have these conversations that you did 1, 2, 3, and you are not doing this right. And then afterwards, it was not constructive because
And then
nothing's
what?
happening
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So then we have to say, what are we agreeing is the standard going forward, right? don't be late, right? Try ensure you're on time. If you can't make it on time, ensure the key is given to somebody else to open up, but communicate so that we have track of the times when you are late. Find something that is practical, right? And sometimes the conversations do get heated, and it's okay to put a pause in the conversation and come back to it, but you need to come back to it in order to solve it.
And if conversation is not working, put in consequences.
Yes, but it's not consequences.
What is
You
it?
put an opportunity for growth.
Okay. And a couple of warnings.
Yes, a couple of warnings. Sometimes it does get to that level.
Sometimes it
It's
does
true.
need a couple of warnings.
Yeah.
No, like that's so beautiful. I think I have unraveled so much from this conversation. I think, especially the part that you mentioned just now about the importance of the difference between a constructive conversation and actually being detailed and specific. I feel like that was so fire.
Yeah, I love how you spoke to partnership being spiritual. Because people like to think that they're professional, and when they come in, when people hurt their feelings, no, that person is wrong. Why would you do that? And you're really wasting time. This could genuinely be a conversation where we focus on the problem at hand, and we you know, and it really comes from a place of prayer. It comes from a place of debunking. It comes from a place of understanding what the partnership is. So I think it being spiritual is such a big thing, and I appreciate you for sharing that, actually.
Love it. So we hope now you have taken a lot away. In conclusion, like we said, you cannot go far if you're alone.
Nope.
You cannot build much if you're alone.
Nope.
Nothing exists in isolation. You need people. You need partnerships. Go do the homework so you can figure out exactly how to do that, because we have given you, we have shared. We'll also make sure to look for a really good, amazing, relevant book that we love to also link in the description for you guys to go and read and learn more. But I think that's it for today's episode.
Always remember that God has poured abundantly, and we are the vessels. Bye.